Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Starjump Station. I am your host, Grim. With me, as always, are my co-hosts. Let's see if I can get this right. And I'm wrong. Ender over here, and Starlet down here. How are you both doing tonight?
Hi. Doing well.
Looks like we got quite a group showing up in chat here with us tonight. Was it last week we took off, or was it the week
Yeah,
before? I forget. Was it last week?
last week.
Last week.
Okay, yeah. So we took off last week, as everyone knows. That may happen from time to time as we prep new episodes. Our goal isn't to always deliver an episode every single week, but it is to try to deliver, compelling discussion and stuff. So sometimes we're going to need to prep for that. Big shout out to everyone in chat. I know His Divine Shadow dropped 5 tier 1 subs as soon as the channel went live, which was absolutely amazing. Noodles McGee subscribed at tier 1. What else did we have? We had Greenwater Griff subscribe at tier 1. Let's see. Did I miss any others? Kavatha subscribed at tier 1. If I missed anyone else, I do apologize, but appreciate all that support. Before we dive into things here, obviously, I wanted, it's been 2 weeks since we've been together. I wanted to see how my amazing, Starjump partners are doing. So let's start off with Ender. How's your last 2 weeks been, dude?
Pretty good. Just resting up, doing my best to stay well rested.
Yeah. Been playing a lot with Xenothreat?
No, not really. I played last night, but
yeah.
that's
Starlet, what about you? How's your 2 weeks been? What have you been into? We are muted. Can we hear Starlet?
Yeah, Starlet, you're muted for me.
Oh,
there we go.
There you
We
go.
got you back.
sorry about that.
That's all right.
My bad. Yeah, I've been working and playing VR, full body tracking. I've been having loads of fun with that. It's awesome.
So tell us a little bit about the full body VR tracking. What goes into that? Obviously, I know about VR, but I'm picturing a lawnmower man situation here.
Kind of. It's not like we see in the Star Citizen clips of them recording in the studio with dots and lines everywhere. It's quite simple. The VR normally have your head tracked in 3 axis, and also each hand is tracked in 3 axis as well. So full body tracking just means you add additional trackers, one for each foot and one for your hips.
Okay.
And that's enough so that it can calculate where your limbs probably are at most times.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Cool.
And it's just that extra step of 3 more points on the body that are tracked that just opens up a world of expression. It's really nice.
Very cool. Yeah, in the world of in my little circle of 3D modelers that help out a lot with various Starjump projects. One of the things I see a lot are people doing side gigs for full VR, full body tracking VR avatars. That's kind of like the new thing 3D artists do on the side.
Yeah.
If I had $1 for every Halo Spartan VR avatar, I could be rich right now.
Yeah, it's really popular. There are tons of places designing them and selling them online.
Yeah,
and
it's kind of funny. It's like buying a stream package or something for graphics. It's kind of funny. So
it's like buying a spaceship, except
an
avatar.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. Going to go back to Ender real quick. Ender, what was that massive jug that you held up just a second ago? It looked like a keg with a handle. There it is.
I mean, it pretty much is. It's my water. This is
That's good. That's good.
This is what happens when you get bladder cancer and need to drink water.
There you go. So, you drink it out of the big jug.
Yeah, and I'm always thirsty all the time.
There you go. Cool. Well, it's great to be back with everybody. Again, it's been 2 weeks, so strangely enough, not a ton has happened in terms of like a bunch of new things to talk about in Star Citizen that are like new. There's definitely some tried and true CIG problems to talk about. We're going to get to those. Obviously, there's the big news of the week with the roadmap. Xenothreat is back. We had an Inside Star Citizen, our first one on ship refueling and the hover quad. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And then we're also going to talk about Titan suits. We're going to speculate a little bit on that. There's not a lot known officially. We'll go over what is known officially. It's about 3 sentences worth of information, so it'll take about 5 seconds. And then we can talk a little bit and speculate with everyone in chat on maybe what the future of Titan suits looks like within Star Citizen's world. Before we go into that, though, Ender, did we have any charity stuff top of show to talk about, or are we moving straight into topics?
Moving straight into topics. Nothing. We're still doing St. Jude's, and we'll have something going.
Yeah.
In the near future. I did want to preface at least the first part of this, if I can, with a couple of things. First, while we're talking about the roadmap stuff, we are not going to open up the backstage. You guys can sit in there if you'd like, but we're not going to take any comments about this. It's just going to be our thoughts on it. Yeah. We know how volatile this is. And I'm also going to make a request. You guys know the rules of our Discord. They go through here as well. So we're going to ask you guys to please keep things civil in here. That's the only request that I have for the night.
Yeah, that's
that's all I've got.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. You know, obviously we want to. One of the things I think Starjump was sort of, this whole Starjump thing, we sort of founded it on was that it's okay to be critical of the game, critical of CIG, critical of decisions that are made, but at the same time, it's not a place we come to be angry all the time. It's if that was it, we would find new hobbies. I know there's other games. I know me and Ender could probably run off and play and laugh all night. So Starjump is not going to be a place where we have anger, and we're going to try to keep it positive, try to keep it good. Again, it's not that we can't critique CIG, critique certain decisions, but as with most things in life, there are kind of two sides to every coin, and we're going to kind of approach it in a little bit more of a fair and balanced way. But we're going to
clarify. We won't be white knighting this.
Yeah, no, I mean,
we're going to speak our mind for sure.
Yeah,
but we're also not going to be just destroying anyone, verbally for any decision made. So,
but before we get into that, I did just want to flip over here to our video channel. On any of our other topics, though, on Titans, especially when we get to Titan suits or refueling, quad bike, if you do have a question or comment, you can hop in the backstage. Try to keep it on topic. Try to keep it on point. Obviously, Ender will bring you over. You'll ask your question, and then he will then pull you out of the live channel, and we will then take your point and run with it. We do that not to be rude or anything, but just to kind of keep the show moving and keep the flow kind of moving forward. So one thing I did want to talk about was that last week or the week before, I did my first episode of Starjump Skunkworks. If any of you had seen some of the promo stuff that went up with that, that is a new Starjump show where we're going to take requests from chat or maybe from the Discord for ships they would like to see or variants of ships that are already out, and we kind of kit bash them into something that's kind of interesting, and at the end of it I'll render a high-res beauty still as like a 4K wallpaper. I'll throw it in the Discord, so if you watch the episode you can go onto Discord right then and pull the wallpaper, and you've got kind of a souvenir from the episode, so to speak. So we just did our first episode a week or so ago, and we were doing a Drake ground vehicle, so we did the Drake Crab. I was hammered incessantly on Twitter about the acronym name Crab belonging to Argo, but I don't think any manufacturer owns acronyms, so I'm going to stick by it. But we had a lot of great We had a lot of great reactions to the episode in general, so expect more Starjump Skunkworks. I don't think they're going to be like a regular weekly thing, but there'll be something we do every now and then to kind of fill, when we have a slow week or something. I think the next one we are doing, though, will be a variant on the Javelin, something Starlet requested, which is, correct me if I'm wrong, Starlet, is it a quad railgun Javelin?
It should break the internet. Yeah.
Yeah, because I did some early tests and the dual railguns still feel small on it. I think we got to go quad for Starjump Skunkworks up. So we got to go big.
I'm all for that.
So it'll have 8 size 10 railguns on it. We'll make sure that happens. So anyways, hopefully if you missed the Starjump Skunkworks episode and are interested in watching that kit bash happen in real time, you can go over to our YouTube channel and it's up there. I've started a Skunkworks playlist now, so you can watch the full episode. We'll do another one of those probably next week. Actually, will be our episode 2 of Skunkworks. The other thing I want to bring up real quick, I want to remind everybody that we do still have the giveaway going on. We were going to give it away this episode of Starjump Station, but now we'll probably give it away next week's. I've just had a really busy week and was not able to get together with Ender in time to sort of like get the giveaway thing set up, but we'll deal with that next week. We'll probably also next week start the giveaway, advertising on Ender's channel for an Elgato Stream Deck. But again, remember, all you have to do is follow this channel. You're automatically entered into the giveaway. You don't have to do anything else. You're not buying tickets. You're not singing and dancing. All you got to do is hit that follow, and you're entered for the giveaway. So on next week's Starjump Station, we will do that drawing live, and someone will win a Stream Deck. And they're pretty cool. I've been using it for this show, actually. So
same goes for my channel. Go ahead and go to my channel and give it a follow, and you'll be entered to win the next Elgato.
There you go. All right. So one thing we wanted to do, we have a couple of things we got to get through tonight. Obviously, like I said, Xenothreat, roadmap, refueling, hover quad, Titan suits. We're going to jump real quick into something though that I meant to do our last episode when we had Driz Taloth on. We didn't get to it, so we're going to do it now. We're going to circle back to our capital ship discussion. We have a few capital ship catch-up questions that came in from our Discord that we wanted to circle back to and sort of answer if we could. So I'm just going to fire off for the sake of time. Someone asked the speculated size of the BMM guns and what will be able to fit in the hangar. Furthermore, is the hangar comparable to human ships, or is it designed specifically for the BMM? I think that may have meant designed specifically for the Defender. I can't answer the first question about the guns. Maybe Starlet, did you know that? I thought you've talked about the guns before on the BMM.
I can't remember now. They were crazy big, like size 8, I think.
I think they're size.
I believe they were size 8.
Yeah, I think they're size 8. And through the grapevine, I've heard a little bit of like size 8 energy or size 8 alien weapons showing up in the files or something like that. So,
okay. Do we know if they're gimbaled or not? So
don't know. Yeah. I don't think we know that yet. We do know on the hangar, obviously, it's made for the Defender. The Defender's made to fit in it. As with most CIG things, though, I think if it fits, it sits. So anything that can squeeze in there, while we don't have the hangar metrics up yet, the Defender, I think when it's in landed configuration, I think you're going to be talking about extra small ships. So I think you'll be able to get the Arrow in there, maybe the Gladius. It's going to be small ships like that, though. You're not going to be parking you're not going to be parking no Vanguard or anything in there. So it's going to be the extra small single ship fighters. Someone had a question on the Pegasus. Intended role of the main turrets in regards to range, one hit kill shots, and usability. Stand by. I think what this person was asking about is overall, what will the balance be regarding massive capital size multi-crew ships versus non-org casual players? And this kind of goes into that old discussion about how powerful is a capital ship going to be against someone in a Cuddy Black? A couple friends in a Cuddy Black. Do either one of you want to jump in
Yeah,
on this one?
I'll take it.
Yep.
Um, there are lots of game loops. You may or may not want to partake in them. If you don't own a mining ship, then you're probably not going to be mining. If you don't own a salvaging ship, you probably won't be salvaging. If you don't own, if you don't have an org or a group of friends that have the right sort of raid ships, you won't be raiding.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean to say you can't enjoy the game and the ship that you have, and use the game loops that were meant for that ship.
Yeah.
A Cuddy Black is not going to go up against the Javelin and come off well, but the Javelin will be slower. So it's not like you'll be chased down by a Javelin. Just walk away, and pick a fight that you can have fun with.
Yeah. I think if you're looking for any sort of balance regarding massive capital sized ships and the casual player in a Cuddy, there shouldn't be any balance. That really goes against the ethos of what the capital ship is. It would be the same as if you were in Warcraft and you were flagged PvP and you were a solo player and you run up against a fully flagged horde, PvP guild of 300 people. They're going to slaughter you in about 2 seconds. That's the threat. That's the sign to pull away. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't see large ships being taken down by one small ship being a thing that we see.
Yeah.
I genuinely think that a lot of people freaked out because they were calling the Ares, for example, capital killers at one point, but they're not. They're
No.
as a single entity. They're not cap killers. They are strong, but they're not going to do any damage.
Well, many of them will. 10 of them will.
Sure, absolutely,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
But alone, it will never
It's a
be a
bit
problem.
like the Redeemer balance conversation. Like, you have to have 3 people in a Redeemer, and people are comparing that against a single fighter.
Yeah,
And saying it's overpowered, but they're not comparing against 3 single fighters. It's a bit strange. It should be sort of based on the assets and the number of people in battle that are required.
The Redeemer really is a great example of this, where it's a game. It's a ship that right away you could go, oh, I want to get that because it's got massive guns. But then when you get it, you quickly realize that unless your friends are with you, that ship is not. There's
exactly.
much better ships to go with,
And not just a friend, but friends.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the key
Yeah.
that I think a lot of people miss. Because I've in my Inferno gone up against Redeemers that are not manned by more than one person, or I should say 2 people. And I got to be honest, they're not really a challenge for that Inferno and another ship.
Well, even in Xenothreat the other night when we were running that, I was taking on a Cuddy Black in my Ares Inferno, and it took it down quick. But I honestly think when I was flying that Buccaneer that you had spec'd out for me, it took it down just as quick. You know what I mean? So again, it's all there's going to be a whole meta to that.
Exactly.
Balance is always going to be a thing that's I think based more on ship class, and then once you are kind of in the same ship class, then it kind of delves into like ship setup and stuff like that. So it's going to be balance. Hopefully, in Star Citizen will be a very complicated endeavor. I'm hoping balance is something that is personally, I hope CIG doesn't try to chase the balance thing too hard, other than to make sure certain ships aren't overpowered or underpowered, but perfect for what they are supposed to be, and then let us figure out what the metas are. If there's 3 fighters that are better than another 3 fighters, and that's just the way it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, okay, so let's move on. We're going to kind of keep on trucking through this. Let's see here. Stand by. This one's a bit wordy, but I'm going to read it out. Listening to the capital ship conversation brought out a lot of questions about multi-crew. I'm wondering if multi-crew aspects of capital ships will cause a fundamental change in the verse, such as we are seeing with Death of a Spaceman, medical gameplay, and physicalized inventory. It does not seem like we will be pulling these massive ships out of the hangar for a few hours of limited gameplay and parking them back in the way we do now. The logistics of operating one of these would be too great, and if you are doing something like operating as a support base for a mining org and Nix, etc., there won't be a hangar to park it in anyway. So does that mean a need for around the clock crew to manage maintenance, repairs, supplies, provide security, plus attend to whatever operational tasks they're doing? So and they sort of go on here and say, well, capital ships stay in play indefinitely. What player NPC ratio will be effective? Obviously, a lot of that we could only speculate on. One thing I can say about that is different capital ships have different governing rules on their persistence. So anything above a javelin, so Pegasus or more likely a Bengal, will persist in the universe. If it's out there, it persists. It never disappears or anything. But they're also not player owned. Javelin, Idris, Kraken, they will persist in the world even if the owner logs off if there are other players on board the ship. I think that is the last we've heard from CIG on the matter. I know specifically with the Kraken, they said that is the case. I'm assuming that is the same with the Idris and Javelin. So the owner can log off. The ship will stay in play until everyone else is off of it. I don't know if there's a cooldown time for that or whatnot. I would hope that in the future of orgs and org tools that we will get, I would hope that we're able to designate XOs and second commands, third in commands, and stuff like that, so that if the owner of a ship chooses to log off, they can actually, maybe there's some sort of in-game function through the org controls or something that, gives the keys to that ship for the moment, not permanent ownership, but just for that state of play over to the second in command or whatever, because that's a pretty good statement that those big ships are going to be brought out to support major operations typically, and you're going to want them to stay in play for longer periods of time. Starlet Ender, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that sounds right. We know so little about the detail, and it's the detail that matters. And all of these roles on a ship, how trivial will they be, or how much training will be required to work them properly?
Yeah.
It's just totally unknown right now, and anything on that topic is kind of pure speculation, unfortunately.
Yeah.
We'll hope for the best, and we'll hope that they come up with something fun for it.
Yeah. I'm all for speculating, but I'll be honest with you. It's going to be like Starlet said. It's all speculation. We can't give you the answer to that question. I can tell you that I think that it's going to be persistent as long as somebody's there and has a designation to be allowed to run that ship. XO, whatever. But I don't think that we're going to have ships that if everybody logs off, it's still there, that aren't ships that nobody can own.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. I think too that a lot of these questions are not going to be answered till we get more information. I do think it's pretty long overdue. More information on org tools, like in-game org tools, and permission systems, access control lists, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that is something I personally hope we do hear about sooner rather than later. I mean, there's a lot of big orgs now, and it would be great to share ships across orgs. Maybe we're not going to see that anytime soon because they want to incentivize ship buying at this stage to continue funding the game. I understand that. But obviously, I would love even just an up-to-date talk on what the future plans are for org support, and to really make them worth their while. And even maybe tools that would allow orgs to formally set themselves as allies, and do, to be able to support each other, for example, with crews for ships. You know what I mean? Imagine an org that has a lot of people in it that you could like contact or one of your allies. You say, hey, we're taking our javelin out. We've only got 30 people in our org. Do you have another group of people that could either be crewmates with us or can fly support ships and stuff? So we'll see how that nets out, but I would love to see more information on that from CIG. Cool. That wraps up our capital catch up. Again, if you missed our capital ship episode, you can check that out on our YouTube channel. I thought it was a really great episode. We went through all the capital ships from the BMM to the Orion to the Holy to the Kraken, all the way to the Javelin to the Bengal. We really covered a lot of them. It was a fun episode to do. We had our good friend Joran on with us to talk about capitals. Again, there's a lot of speculation when it comes to stuff like that, but there's a lot of speculation with all Star Citizen stuff at this point. Honestly, if it's not, small to medium fighter combat right now, most of it's speculation. Or if it's not mining, it's speculation. So,
yeah.
Cool. All right. So we are going to then talk real quick about Xenothreat. Xenothreat relaunched this week. Ender, Starlet, have you been able to get your hands on a little Xeno gameplay? How'd it go?
Did some yesterday with you.
That's right. Yeah. Was that
I felt
your
like
first
it ran
time?
really smooth. Yeah, that was my first Xenothreat run
for this
run.
Yeah.
I felt like it ran real smooth. I didn't see any issues. I did.
Yeah, it was pretty smooth.
I will say this is the first run after Death of a Spaceman, or at least the new medical system.
Oh, that's right.
And I will say that it was more interesting to see people not just diving into and blowing up their ship.
Yeah.
A prime example would be my ship got hit last night with a missile, and it shut the power down completely. And it was sitting there. It was getting shot. So I went EVA and waited for you to pick me up in the middle of a battle, and it was terrifying because I was wearing full armor. I wasn't just wearing nothing. I was wearing my full armor because I constantly do. But I'll tell you, it was not without its harrowing moments of ships passing within 1,000 meters of me.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up
out.
Because I really had forgotten about that, but I did see a little bit different. Well, I would say this: I noticed a different pacing to Xenothreat in our play session. Now, mind you, I only played the one session and we didn't even fully complete it.
Yeah,
but I felt the pacing was slower, and that may have had something to do with people being a little bit more careful. Matter of fact, I don't even know if the cargo even got above 20% loaded. Did it?
Yeah, we were at 50% for a couple of the items, but it wasn't a lot. So it was an interesting, newness,
and there was
how
there was people out there. So I think that again, people were just being a little bit more careful. I totally forgot about Death of a Spaceman.
They were making sure the combat was taken care of before they were exiting their ships because they did not want to lose a ship out in the middle of nowhere. So
that's a great point. I actually will be interested to see. You know how at the end of Xenothreat they always release the statistics of Xenothreat.
Mm-hmm.
I would be really interested to see what the statistics are for this one versus the last one, just to see what those numbers look like post personal inventory, post medical tier 0 or whatever.
As a matter of fact, if anybody happens to have last year's or the last Xenothreat's numbers, if you could shoot those to me in Discord, that would be amazing.
That'd be interesting to kind of review next episode, or if they have the current ones out. But Xenothreat. All right, so that's going on now, and are they they're in phase 3 now, right? Oh, I think so.
I think this is phase 2.
Is it phase
2 1 right was yesterday.
Yep. Okay.
So phase 2 would be today.
Okay, yeah, Quinn's saying phase 2. Okay. So again, if you haven't checked out Xenothreat, if you've sort of avoided it, in your Star Citizen playtime, I would say give it a shot.
I love it. I
Out
think
of
it's the best.
I do too. Out of all the events, Jumptown, Ninetales, Xenothreat's my favorite, only because I love the different approaches you can take to be involved. I think that's really cool. Griffin Gaming, thanks for stopping by. Salute to you. Hope you're well. Everyone, I was a guest on Soul Citizens with Griffin talking about the Crucible. That was a great episode. They had me on. That was a couple weeks ago, but that was a lot of fun. All right, now we're going to get to, thanks His Divine Shadow, gifting a tier 1 sub to Griff. Thank you so much. His Divine Shadow always supporting us. Really appreciate it. We're going to get into the, big topic of the week, I guess to say, if not for the for the last 6 months, and that is the first roadmap roundup that was released this past Wednesday. And
Just
it was
excuse myself for 10 minutes, eh?
and it was supposed to release the week before. This was to be the first roadmap roundup of the new year. A lot of people anticipate this first one, typically because it comes in late January, early February. Typically, that is after CIG has held their sort of beginning of year meetings to kind of suss out what the year's goals are going to be, et cetera, et cetera. So either right or wrong, I think people walk into that first roadmap thinking, hey, this is going to be a big one. This is going to be a big update. I know I fall into that myself. And, I think there was kind of an initial expectation of, we're going to see 3.19 on the release view, possibly 4.0 will land on there or something, because we know that they're pushing towards Pyro this year, hopefully. But what we got was something a little different. We got an adjustment, kind of a readjustment by CIG in terms of what the release view is going to be used for. And it sounds like they're sort of, in a way, depreciating it into a place where it's only going to really reflect what's coming the following quarter and nothing beyond that. That readjustment is in order to bring focus primarily onto the progress tracker, which is what I think which is essentially what they want people to be judging, things from. Although it's kind of an interesting point to make, because the progress tracker is all over the place in terms of things finishing, but then still never seeing the light of day for years sometimes. While it's called the progress tracker, it's a very difficult way to judge progress. So that's one facet of this roadmap update that we can talk about. The other side of it is the statement CIG put out. They essentially put out a statement that said, the long and short of it, I won't quote it. You can obviously go read it yourself. But the long and short of it was they felt like the release view was being taken as a promise, a promised list of features to be released at, in certain quarters. And specifically, I think they referred to them as their most passionate fans were getting, very upset when those promises or pseudo promises were broken, because things were naturally moving and shifting. Now, the community reacted in a pretty pretty big way. I would say on both sides of the aisle, but definitely there was a big negative reaction from the community, because it felt like to a lot of people that CIG was sort of blaming the community base, blaming the backers for not reading the release view properly, and kind of putting it on them. So let's talk a little bit about that. I think there's been a lot of content put out by people recently. I just watched 2 videos in particular today. One from the Eradicator, a pretty well-known content creator for Star Citizen, as well as Morphologist. He just released a video today. that I thought was really, really good. Probably one of the best ones. So if you're going to kind of go watch an opinion piece on the roadmap stuff, I would recommend Morphologist. He always approaches things in a pretty, I think, balanced way, and it was a great video. But yeah, let me hand it over to. I've definitely got my opinions on this. I'll hand it over to Ender and Starlet. Which one of you want to go first? What do you think about this change from the release view to focus more on the progress tracker? And then what do you think a little bit on how that was communicated to the backers?
Go for it, Ender.
I don't understand any of this. If I'm being 100% honest, I do and I don't. I don't understand why everybody got so angry. I do think that it could have been communicated better. I really think the coffee shop should have been left off of the update, and it should have just been bad news.
I agree. Yeah.
But at the same time, look, these guys are doing the best they can, and I don't think that us berating them for every decision that gets made is a good thing to do. I think that their decisions are not always the best. I definitely think that their decision this time was not the best decision. They could have done this a lot better, but they're doing the best they can at the same time, in my opinion, at least. And I just don't understand all the anger.
Yeah, I know you reached out to me that day. You're like, "Wait, what's going on?" I don't understand.
What's funny is I described it this way. It's not that I don't understand it from a point of view of I don't know what's happening. I don't understand it in the sense, and this is the way I've described it to everyone. I don't understand it in the sense of any movie, TV show that you've ever watched where a serial killer, a psychopath is the main focus, and they can't understand human emotion. I didn't understand why everybody was acting so vehemently angry.
That may be because
this.
That may be because you're in your
What are you
Zen
saying?
state this weekender.
I mean, maybe
That's a good thing.
maybe, but no, it's
I'm pretty sure you're not a
it's
serial
not.
killer, so it must be
I
something
will
else.
say, I will say, it's not the difference between an old backer and a new backer. You can drop that excuse, please, because we're all waiting for the same game. And while you've been waiting longer than me, it does not invalidate the fact that I am still waiting for this game. So
Yeah, there are definitely new backers that are frustrated, and then there's old backers that are totally fine with it. So
I feel like the new backers are saltier than some of the older ones.
yeah, I
really
mean,
do.
it's kind of hard to know. I mean, I think that's kind of the old go-to. Even on spaceships, people say, "Oh, I've waited 6 years for the Polaris. Why is the Scorpius going into development?" And that's something I think CIG battles on multiple fronts. You know what I mean? Not only is it from how veteran a backer is, but how veteran a ship concept is, or how veteran a gameplay loop is, or something. So that's something that does come up. Starlet, what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah. I have some thoughts.
Let's hear them.
But I'm not really actually that interested in the roadmap. I used to like the release view because you could anchor a bit of hope on it, right? You could say, well, this will be there in 6 months, and I'm going to look forward to that, so I'll keep hanging in there. And now it's like, oh, nothing on there that I'm interested in. Refueling is not that useful until Pyro comes out. So yay, we've got some new DNA head textures. Woohoo!
Yeah.
That's what's on the plan for the year to have hope for. And looking at the progress tracker with no defined delivery goals involved and no defined connection to what is required for a delivery. So there's just people working on stuff for a period of time, and then they move to working on other stuff, and it's not linked to any kind of release or any kind of result in our hands. I'm sure that stuff will help eventually, but when? 10 years? Who knows? So it's kind of a little bit disappointing, but it's no big deal. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
I think there are 3 things going on that are a bit weird. I know a lot of people love Squadron 42, the concept of it. They're really waiting for it. They're passionate about it. But for me, it's just a single player game that the campaign that will get played a few times, people get bored of it after a month, that'll be it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I bought chips to back the PU. I bought chips to get into this MMORPG game, not Squadron 42. So when they say they're pulling resources off the PU to put it in the Squadron 42, that makes me feel a little bit negative.
Mm-hmm.
I wish they didn't do that, but I
That's
kind
fair.
of have a suspicion that I know why. And I think server meshing has really messed them up. And you know, we had iCache for the last 2 years. That silently got renamed into something else. It's still not working. Persistent hangers aren't in there. They've just been moved back.
Yeah.
The persistence is not in there yet. So something's really gone wrong with server meshing. It wouldn't surprise me if we see the Cargo refactor drop from 318 as well.
100%. Yeah.
And come out later in the year.
Yeah.
It's going to be a really crap year, I think, for Star Citizen.
Yeah.
But in December, Pyro will come out. We'll have the absolute minimum of server meshing for Pyro, and everyone will be happy. So
Yeah.
we can live with that. It's
Yeah. That's
estimating is not like there's all these excuses going around, and even in agile software projects, you can still plan to some degree of accuracy more than what's happening right now. And I think it's Squadron 42 and server meshing are the two things that are really messing up their program. And I think it's their fault, and they should have handled it earlier, but they haven't, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens with it.
What do you think the solution is, Starlet, in regards to Squadron 42? We know, it's a game that needs to get done. There's already been a lot invested in it. From what we hear, there's a lot there, and we haven't seen it. But when you watch things like the vertical slice and stuff, there's some really cool stuff in that vertical slice. Let's be honest. But what do you feel like? One of the common things we hear is that Squadron 42 needs to kind of be held back for spoiler reasons. Do you think that line of thinking is valid? Do you think they need to reveal a little bit more about Squadron 42 to show us what all these developers are working on and why this is being prioritized? Because it's going to be
I don't
made,
think so.
you know.
I don't think so. I don't think we need to know the details of Squadron 42. It would be nice to see that they're working on stuff, but we know they're working on stuff.
Yeah.
I just don't understand the business ideas around it. I don't understand why they're spending all this, PU ship money towards Squadron 42, and why they're going to delay Squadron 40, the PU over Squadron 42. I don't get that part of it.
Right.
And actually, what I think is going on is that all the software has to be written on top of layers of other software. And because the networking layer is changing a lot with server meshing, and we don't have that new layer in the PU yet, all the new software they're writing isn't going to be very compatible with the new layer when it comes in, right? But as Squadron 42 is a single player game, that network layer can be emulated quite easily. So I can kind of see from a technical point of view how it would be better that they write software on top of that for Squadron 42 and then just sort of port it over at the end. That kind of makes some sense, but it's their fault that we're in this position to start with. I don't think we should have to suffer for that. But we have no choice. So we just chin up and we wait for Christmas and enjoy Pyro.
Andrew, you had something you wanted to
add? Not add so much as I would like to not have an argument in our chat. So let's look. I get it. If you spent $3,000 on the game, you spent $3,000. If you spent $45 on the game, you spent $45. The minimum amount that you have to spend on this game is $45. Everything else is your choice to make and purchase. So please, guys, stop arguing about the price of this game.
It's a gamble like anything. I mean, I would love to have all the money I've bought or spent on early access Steam games.
Yeah, God, yes.
That have turned out to be absolute garbage. Okay, so it's something that I definitely have regret about. But I know when I buy an early access game or buy into it, there is inherent risk. And sometimes there are true gems that are early access games that are rough during early access, but then they
Scum.
do, they do kind of come out of their shell. One of the classic ones with that was Arma 3. I mean, Arma 3 was actually the first, I think, early access Steam game.
It was.
And I played Arma 3 in its early access phase back when there was literally one vehicle in it and one small map. And you could see a glimmer of hope there, much like you do with Star Citizen, but didn't feel like much. But then again, once it was developed and developed and developed, and believe me, it took a long time for Arma 3 to get into a place that felt good. Years and years and years.
Yes, it did. And we were playing for a lot of that.
Yeah, but it did come out of its shell eventually. Now,
Yeah.
here's my opinion on this whole thing. Let's talk about the progress tracker really quick. First off, the release view was always tentative to me. That the quarter that we were dealing with was the most accurate. Anything outside of that next quarter was 50-50 anyway, to be totally honest with you. So not much has changed there. Here's the issue with the progress tracker, though, and Starlet, you kind of talked about this a little bit, and I feel this is the case with the progress tracker. The progress tracker is the best, in my opinion, development tracking information load we've ever seen in game development. The amount of information that's there is incredible. The amount of access we have to dive into it and search for things is incredible. But there's so much information there. It's like we're standing underneath a waterfall with our hands out trying to catch some water, but 3,000 gallons a second is falling. You know what I mean? There's so much information there, but we can't hold on to it. We can't do anything with it because while there's a big layer of transparency there, and we're really seeing things that are truly in development. For example, if I go on there and I see that the Corsair and the Drake Vulture are currently in development, I do feel like they are probably currently in development. I don't feel like that's, they're lying about it or anything. So while all that's very accurate, none of that gives you any feedback other than it's in development. It doesn't mean it's releasing. Doesn't mean it's not then going to downstream teams that aren't always visible on the progress tracker at the time you're looking at it, because they're always delayed a little bit. So what I think the ultimate solution is at this point, they should probably get rid of the release view completely. Just lose it. If it's only going to show the current, the current quarter, there's no purpose in having it. Just get rid of it. Just have your progress tracker. And on the progress tracker at the very top, you have a button that's a filter that says committed. And when you click that, it will only show and list the things that are committed for the next quarter. Not finished, committed for release. Finished is a different filter, like if they finish production on it. But committed would be a filter, be a tag that they click on, you click on, and then boom, it shows you what's going to be coming. Because I think, honestly, having both the release view and progress tracker is part of what's causing some of this confusion. People, you know what I mean? It's just, and especially to new players, they come in, they're like, well, what's the difference between the release view and the progress? Just have the progress tracker, okay, with a committed filter that shows what is being committed for the next patch. In addition to that,
and still keep in mind that stuff could be tentative. Something
it's all tentative,
but not work.
Yeah,
that they want to work.
Yeah, things can be removed. It doesn't get in there. Yeah, things could always be removed from committed, but I do look at the committed tag as being something where they're at least 90% sure this is going in the next patch. And you see this on the release view already. When something finishes and is like done with work and is literally slotted in for the next patch, it goes blue and goes committed. Everything else is listed tentative. And sometimes those committed tags don't get added till the very last minute. Now, moving on into their communication, the communication here, I obviously think was poor. I think that the release view is. I would have loved to seen CIG take a little bit of responsibility, along with the backers taking a little bit of responsibility for how things got off track. I mean, on CIG's side, for example, one of the things that I got to thinking about was the release view in and of itself is a little bit of a problem, and that it's called the release view. You have things on there scheduled for release, and when they get bumped off or delayed or removed entirely, it starts to feel like your release view is not really a release view. And that puts CIG in a bad place where people are going to get it, disappointed. So the release view in and of itself, and the fact that it's even called that, I think is a problem. The other issue that I think happens that is the most bothersome to me are things like persistent hangers and that persistent hanger app getting added for 318, which is in Q2, which is soon. But while those two gameplay features were lined up, the core tech behind them wasn't finished yet. Persistent streaming tech. Until that core tech should finished, those features should have never been listed on the release view. 100%.
100%.
And I'm not blaming that on some malicious thing behind CIG. It's not like having persistent hangers on the release view caused people to go buy ships or anything. I don't think it was malicious in that way. What I think is occurring is there's a miscommunication between the multiple different teams and the team that ultimately is updating that release view on what should be put up there. And I think that's what CIG needs to tackle on their end, is that communication. But yeah, fundamentally though, those two items should have never been put on there. If they were put on there simply to give 318 some content, even though they knew that weren't ready, CIG needs to not do that stuff. That's bad form. If it was just generally a communication issue, then I don't put that much blame on CIG, but I do hope they fix the communication issue.
Yes.
So yeah, on the flip side, again, backers at this point in time, absolutely, can fly off the handle at even the smallest things. I saw someone else mention, I forget who it was, someone had talked about content creators, whether it's Board Gamer or Starjump or whoever, or Eradicator or anybody. It's all the content creators will sometimes talk about upcoming features on their shows. Now, if you know us, we don't do that very often. We only do it if we actually want to discuss one of those gameplay features just from a discussion point, but we don't have like regular like roadmap roundup episodes. And that was always purposeful because we didn't want to get into that thing where we were sort of adding into the expectations of what people are, Grim at Starjump said that XYZ was coming out next month. But at the same time, I feel for the content creators too, because the content creators are part of why the game is successful. Let's be honest. They bring people to the game and they need content. And the release view and the progress tracker, especially the release view, are something that content creators can report on. So again, it's a vicious cycle. I don't think there's one person over another that can be blamed. I think there's plenty of blame to go around on all sides, from backers to CIG to the roadmap itself, all that stuff. So I personally would like to see that that communication get cleaned up a little bit. And one other last point I would like to add is, I really wish at the beginning of the year, and I don't know if they're planning on doing that again this year, but I want to hear Chris Roberts do pillar talks at the beginning of each year, and I want those pillar talks to be centered around that year and what the goal is that year. And it doesn't need to be gameplay or like feature specific. Like I don't need Chris Roberts saying, persistent hangers this year, one of these. I would just like to hear what CIG's internal goals are for the game. And they could be broad ranging. Is it to get an additional gameplay loop in, and without naming it? Is it to get stability up? Is it to, get Pyro in by the end of the year? Or is this a sort of a promo push for Pyro for next year? Whatever. I would love to hear what those overarching goals are to sort of set expectations. I do think Todd Pappy, I always forget his name. Is it Ian? Gameplay loop guy, I forget. And Chris Roberts, all of them talking about this stuff, I think is key. We need to hear it from them. So, Starlet, I think I cut you off. What were you about to say?
Oh, I just wanted to give a shout out to Jake Acapella,
Yep.
The roadmap guy,
hmm
like a better name. But it was really cool that he just fronted up in some of the community discords and talked to people, and I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah.
Um, and
He
we
really
don't
is
get
great.
any
Yeah.
access to CIG, on anything like those kind of terms beyond Jake, as far as I know. Maybe some other discords do, but just wanted to say thanks, Jake, and yeah, keep doing
Yep.
that because it's a really nice thing.
And like I said at the beginning of my spiel, the progress tracker is the single greatest development tracker I've ever seen. Um, I I focus on that primarily. People that talk to me regularly know I will say, "Oh, on the progress tracker, on the progress tracker." 100%. That whole thing is great. What the issue is communication and how the information shown on there is filtered down, and more specifically, maybe there needs to be a tag for um, work that is sort of considered like prerequisite. So, for example, if we see something that is on the progress tracker and it's completing in May, I almost wish there was a little tag or color coding on there that indicated that, hey, this is under development. It'll be done in May, but this also relies on several other things that are not done yet or not even in development yet. So while this work
Yeah.
is going on, this is not going to be going, don't be expecting this anytime soon. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think there's a lot of stuff they could do with the roadmap in that regard that would, or the progress tracker, excuse me, that would help out with that sort of nonverbal communication and expectations. So and real quick, final thing before we move into other topics, I'll just say on Squadron 42 front, Squadron 42 is one of those things I'm never really interested in it, to be honest with you, until I see something impressive from it. And then I'm like, I would play that. You know what I mean? And it's really in CIG's hands because with the proper marketing push, I imagine 90% of Star Citizen backers are going to get interested in Squadron 42 with the right messaging, the right marketing push. But they keep so much behind the curtain that it's a little hard to get excited about it. And I know there's been some rumors
Yeah.
maybe of another vertical slice coming out soon. I would really like that. And I would like for Chris Roberts to tee that off and tell us why to be excited about Squadron 42. I would love for them to come on and say, look, we know you are all backing Star Citizen. You're buying these ships for the PU. Here's another reason to be excited about your pledge, about
Yep.
your real dollar support for this endeavor. Let's show you a little bit behind the scenes of Squadron 42, something new.
Yeah.
To again, just to reinforce that the money that's flowing in is going to good things and cool things. So
And can I just add,
yeah,
people compare this to other game companies and other games, but CIG are really in a position of extreme privilege here.
Yep.
They didn't have to sell any of their control or shareholdings for investment.
that's right.
The money is essentially gifted to them with no actual requirements to deliver. They are in an enormous position of power over everybody,
hmm
and they've just been gifted an enormous benefit. So it's a little bit different to other game companies where they have investors, they have deadlines.
Yeah.
Investment was put in upfront to make it happen. It's just different terms.
Yeah. And we see where that goes wrong sometimes. I mean, Cyberpunk was a great example of that. While they sort of have turned that around now, Cyberpunk's in a really good place. Pretty terrible launch. And trying to get it out by a date that had already been delayed several times. There's a lot of pressure behind them. So that's not to say that a game should go on into 30 years of development,
Right.
but there's a middle ground there. So
There is. Absolutely. There's a middle ground, but I still think that, you bring up Cyberpunk and we've discussed this one quite a bit. So you know my stance on this, but
Interestingly, oh, sorry,
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, interestingly, Cyberpunk's kind of more of a single player game, isn't it? If I'm correct.
Absolutely.
It is,
But, but
it's gonna, like Squadron 42. We'll play it. We'll play through it 10 times. We'll get our F8s unlocked. will be bored of it, and
Mhm.
that'll be 1 or 2 months later, just like
Abs-
Cyberpunk was for people, although on a smaller scale.
Absolutely. But here's the difference, the major difference between Cyberpunk and Squadron 42. Squadron 42 is the precursor to Star Citizen. If we rush one, we're rushing the other, and there will be no difference between the three games because we're going to rush out and they're going to give us shit, just like Cyberpunk was. Cyberpunk turned into a disaster. People sued the game company,
Yeah.
and that's
I mean,
I still feel in part on us as
one
the
thing
consumer.
One thing I think they could do that would be really smart is put enough hooks in Squadron 42 for the Star Citizen player to encourage us to play it. We already know that playing through it's going to give you access to buy, probably with in-game credits and money, but probably access to buy an F8 as well as the F7A. But I would like to see other things in the game. For example, I would hope that by playing Squadron 42, you get a huge boost in your UEE reputation standing, which can help out in the PU in terms of buying things from UEE systems in terms of discounts, and other things. I mean, there's 1,000 hooks they could put in there. I hope they do that
Yeah,
to really incentivize that.
One
Um,
thing they got right for me is
mhm.
Cyberpunk's non-PG adult nature and theme is really cool,
It's the
and
only reason I
yeah.
bought it.
the the PG
I still have
Star
yet to
Citizen
buy it,
world
and I
is
need
so
to.
boring and bland and androgynous.
Yeah,
It's just horrible.
yeah,
And it's so wrong considering the entire backer base
yeah.
is an older generation of players that are not underage and
Yeah,
could well do with a more adult themed universe in some ways.
absolutely. I think this is
At least not
one of the
PG.
best candidates for that type of stuff,
Yeah,
Starlet. I really do, and I think that they could treat it in a way that is mature and has a real standing in the verse. Like it feels like it's part of the verse and not just tacked on
yeah.
for gratuity's sake. But
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
real quick here, we're going to keep pushing. We got to get into some other things here real quick. I did want to jump into so real quick, let's just finalize all that by saying I would expect CIG to come out with a response to this backlash, something probably maybe a Chris Roberts video or something soonish, where I would love a pillar talk, to be honest with you, another one of those, but I would expect something like that. And look, there's some exciting things lined up for this year. Let's all be excited. Another big year for Star Citizen. And as Jared just said in Inside Star Citizen, we are on the road to Pyro. I love that they keep saying that and they haven't stopped saying that, so that's great to hear.
Yeah.
So speaking of ISC, this week's episode, they went into refueling, ship-to-ship refueling gameplay. I tell you what, I really was not interested in this at all until I watched the video, and I was I was like, oh man, this is awesome, and not really because of the refueling. What I loved about it was, as you're seeing on screen here, I love that you're going to finally be able to be out there and do emergent gameplay loops. So you're going to be out there, run out of fuel, and be able to type, in chat, hey, I'm out of fuel. Someone's going to be able to respond to that. They're going to be able to set their own prices. You're going to be able to negotiate those prices with them. That
Yeah.
to me was, again, another exciting thing because I can see how that can be applied to tons of gameplay loops, medical, personal beacons, all that stuff. So while I'm not like crazy on like refueling, I was really excited about the depth and the direction they took with ship to ship refueling. Starlet, Ender, do you have any thoughts about this?
I was already excited for refueling, only because I've gotten to personally do air traffic control for ship to or aircraft refueling, and watch this happening on radar, and I've watched a ton of videos on this, and just seen it, quite a bit. To see them put so much thought into this was really, really exciting, and it made me more excited for what we've got coming up for this, to see this happening. And oh man, there's going to be some real fun stuff with this, I think.
And we're finally seeing one of the kind of big useless ships finally get a use, and that's always exciting.
Yep.
You know, because we know that'll eventually come to ships like the Reclaimer and other ships. So it's nice to finally. I think it is a cool moment when you see a ship that people have owned for a while. It's a big ship, not much to do with it, and then suddenly it gets its usage, and that's pretty exciting. I think there's reason to celebrate that. Starlet, your thoughts?
Let's see how useful it is when Pyro comes out.
Yeah. It's all well. I mean, that's a great point. I mean, it's all going to be based off how useful it is. How big is Pyro? How much do we run out of fuel? CIG is going to have to really balance that, because to your casual player, the goal, the impetus is to like, well, let's put a bunch of refueling stations throughout Pyro or Nyx or Magnus or wherever you're going. And even Stanton has, with all of its refueling stations. Do they need to take another look at Stanton and maybe pull back some of those services in order to make fuel a real commodity that has some importance to it? So yeah, absolutely, Starlight. I think we've got to see how useful it is, and that's going to be key. If in Pyro fuel is worth its weight in gold, then owning a Starfarer is going to be one of the most important things you can have when we go into Pyro. If there's too much fuel, it's too readily available, or if it's too easy to jump back to Stanton and refuel your ship and jump back to Pyro, then you've lost the gameplay loop. You know what I mean? So it filters into just more than just refueling stations. We now, now they need to think about, well, how difficult is jumping? Jumping through these jump gates and stuff. So,
if I can, can I just tear us back to the roadmap just for one point?
Yeah,
sure. Because I think it's a point that hasn't really been talked about, that I forgot before. They have a game there in the PU at the moment, and we've all been complaining about how it needs to be more stable and more playable. And they've done that, and they've made it stable. They've made it playable, and for a certain subsection of the player base, they're having a lot of fun in there. They are now incentivized not to put anything in there that would disrupt that. Therefore, it's going to be much harder for them to keep pushing out the changes throughout the year. And I think that's another reason why they've just ditched the roadmap as was planned, because they simply won't be putting out the number of changes they have been in the past to keep the PU stable.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Starlet. Looks like Chad agrees with you. To kind of follow on to that, I almost wonder if, a lot of times before a big marketing push on a movie or anything, you almost see a little bit of a drought before they enter a big push on something. And I almost wonder, coinciding with what you're saying about, the game is stable right now. Let's not mess that up. So let's be careful on what we put into the game. Because they want to keep positive momentum on Star Citizen leading into 4.0 and Pyro, and again, we know they're calling it 4.0 because they want it to be the next big, release of Star Citizen. Maybe we're going to get a little bit of a drought before 4.0. I could see that happening. Not necessarily because they're trying to hold stuff back purposely, but because they're not wanting to try to derail anything on their lead up. Because in this live environment, people playing the game, people streaming it, people playing it, people having fun, people talking about it, that is your marketing. And this is sort of the marketing push into Pyro, that road to Pyro. So you don't want to derail any of that. So we'll see, but that's sort of maybe what this feels like. Cool. So let's jump back over to our video window view. Another thing that was on Inside Star System, we don't have to spend a lot of time on this one, but it is the new Consolidated Outlands Hover Quad. I think two interesting points about this particular vehicle is it does seem like a vehicle that, according to John Crew, is about one thing, getting from A to B quickly. It doesn't have, personal shields. It's not built for combat. Doesn't have any weapons. It's about getting to and from. And I love the focused nature of it in that regard. Another interesting point that they brought up was that it was sort of built to work and fit perfectly in the Nomad, and almost like they're a pair. I almost think that when the hover quad goes on sale, there's probably going to be a little package for the Nomad and the hover quad together. But I had zero interest in this damn thing, but I actually want to buy one in game just because I think it'll be fun to race around on planets with it, just to have fun and enjoy it, much like a Ranger bike or something would be.
Yep.
So I'm interested in that. It's definitely a buy-in game sort of vehicle for me. I would personally love if CIG garnered a little goodwill by giving everyone who at least downloaded that wallpaper during Luminalia, give them a free one. I know they probably won't do that. One of the things Morphologists talked about a little bit with this whole roadmap thing is the number of missteps that sort of occurred by CIG leading up to all this. The Luminalia thing was another kind of misstep, and even Xylo kind of mentioned that, he realized that was a misstep afterwards, doing that whole, on the last day of Luminalia, we show you a wallpaper image of a new vehicle.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that would be a way to garner a lot of goodwill back, is giving everyone this vehicle for free, maybe as like a thank you for 400 million.
Everyone who got all 12 gifts.
Yeah, or something like that.
Yeah.
Or hell, even just giving it to everyone as a gift because the game crossed the 400 million raised mark. You know what I mean?
It'd be great.
So either way, Starlet, I'll hand it over to you first. What's your thoughts on the hover quad? Got any plans of picking up this obvious LTI token?
Should be a good referral bonus and an LTI token for people that don't have them.
Yeah. It'll figure prominently.
Great, really bad value for US dollars.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Don't even bother.
Anders,
token, sure.
Thoughts on the hover quad?
This feels the hover quad itself feels like it was built specifically for the Daymar rally.
It does actually, yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah,
I was cool. Like you, I was not interested in this thing because give me my Ranger. But the more I've seen this, the more I'm definitely buying this in game. I've seen some people who are just like, well, it doesn't have guns. There's no point in this thing. But I'm different. I think that it's nice to have a hovercraft with no guns on it. I think it's nice to see this, I mean, look at the video that we've got right now.
Yeah.
This thing is flying all over the place. Yeah. And it's going to be interesting to watch in a Daymar rally in the future.
Give me the X1. I want the X1.
Yeah.
I paid for it a long time ago. I'm still waiting for it.
Well, hey, it's on the progress tracker. It's on the progress tracker. I'll say this
what does
about.
That mean exactly?
I know. Sorry, too soon. I will say this about the hover quad, though, that I do think that it should be about a $20 pledge price for this thing. It's got no weaponry. I don't.
Yeah.
It's got no shields. This should be.
It's going to be $40.
Yeah, it probably will, but I do think it should really be like slightly above the Grey Cat PTV. I mean, this thing should be a small little simple feature utility vehicle. So I think it should be the $20 range. I'm sure it'll be higher, but
only because they know they'll make money off of it for things like the Daymar rally.
Yeah,
and I'm not choosing my words wisely there. I don't mean that they're, it's not a money grab for obvious reasons, but I think that they know that the value in this is people will want it for the Daymar rally, for things like that. So
I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see how this factors in Daymar rally, but also the ship-to-ship refueling. I'll be interested to see, especially for like the big ships that are hovering around there constantly, like the 890 jump VIP stations that are flying for hours on end. I guess they'll have to refuel now. That'll be kind of interesting.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah, well,
if they release a Star Kitten skin for it, I'll get one.
Oh, okay. CIG, you've heard.
You heard it here first.
If there's any CIG lurkers in chat, you've heard it from Starlet. Needs to happen. All right, so that's the hover quad. Now we're going into our final topic of the night. We're going to talk about Titan suits. This is sort of what we've been advertising through the week that we wanted to talk about. I'll go ahead and preface this right now by saying we're not going to go super in depth on this stuff. It's not going to be like our Endeavor episode or our Repair episode, primarily because there's not a lot of information out there about the Titan suits. There's just not. It's very, very little. One
By
might
the way,
ask. Yep. Go ahead.
Sorry. Backstage is open.
Yep.
Yep. But be careful. Go ahead, Grim. Sorry.
Thank you, Ender. A lot of people may ask too, why Titan suits out of nowhere? I can give a little bit of a preface, kind of a little bit, well, actually a little bit of backstory into this. So, as a lot of you all know, I am in pre-production and shot planning stages for the RSI cinematic that I'm working on. You've probably seen our previous cinematics on our YouTube channel for the Aegis and Drake manufacturers. RSI will be next, and there is a several sequences in the cinematic that will have Titan suits featured. So that was something I always set out to do. I set out a few initial goals for the RSI cinematic. I wanted to have some Titan suits in it. I wanted to have planetary surfaces in it, and I wanted to have Perseus to get its revenge from getting destroyed twice in the Aegis cinematic. So,
no, that's unnecessary.
So that was kind of the goal, and I set about working in collaboration with one of my modeler friends, Nicholas, who lives in South America. We were collaborating on the Titan suits. He helped me do some work on the Endeavor modules for the Aegis cinematic. And we've been really just pushing it through, and he finished his modeling work a couple weeks ago, and I took over a lot of the texturing and rigging work on the Titan suits, and I'm really happy to where we've ended up. It's a little tricky because a lot like the Crucible or the Endeavor, it's very speculative in nature. I've got like 2 pieces of concept art to base the thing on. CIG never talks about it, but either way, I'm going to kind of read to you what we know about Titan suits, and we're going to talk about and speculate, I should say, on what Titan suit's role in Star Citizen could possibly be, and maybe where we would like to see them come in. So again, this won't be super, super deep. It's just going to be something that will be fun to talk about, and we'll be able to see some kind of cool visuals of Titan suits, which we don't get to see very often. So first things first, let's switch over to our video window, and let's bring up our first Titan suit concept art. This is one of the...
Nargos.
Say again?
I was just saying to
Telling Nargo to hold
seat.
on to a seat. Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
We're getting there. We're definitely getting there. So, Titan suits. We've got 2 sort of official pieces of concept art that I could find, and then some sort of behind-the-scenes development art that we'll kind of show. So, first and foremost, in Star Citizen sort of lore, there are classes of space suits. Okay, there you go, from class 1 to class 9, and they're about how you would guess. Like class 1 to class 3 are civilian suits, like light, medium, heavy civilian suits. Class 5, 6, and 7 are sort of light, medium, heavy military suits. Class 8 is full-blown EVA suit, and then a Class 9 is a full-blown mech suit, somewhere between a spacesuit and the power loader from Alien. These repair the outside of large ships and move heavy objects in hangars. So you'll notice what I'll say there, that a lot of people think the Titan suits are full-on combat mechs, but in Star Citizen World there is a lot of industrial sort of backing to frame the Titan suits around. We'll go to our next piece of concept art here. So another definition here that I found for the Titan exosuit is the Titan exosuit or Titan suit is a mech spacesuit originally built for industrial purposes. It is expanded to military and combat operations as well. It's classified as a Class 9 spacesuit under the spacesuit classification system, what we just went over. While we don't know who manufactures the Titan suits, There is a little bit of a thread out there in the Star Citizen literature that seems to hint that Virgil Limited, which is a human company that manufactures personal armor, is the developer of the Titan suit. Here's the Virgil armor description. Virgil Limited is a high-end commercial and personal armor manufacturer. Aside from combat uses, they build systems for heavy commercial and mining applications, like the Achilles PDS heavy combat armor and the Zeus system, which is codenamed Titan armor. So what we're calling Titan suits may very well be the Zeus system, according to the literature. Okay. So what do we know about Titan suits beyond these two pieces of concept art? Well, not much besides what I've already told you. These are the two pieces of fleshed out concept art. We do have a little bit of development art. Here's one of them. This shows you a little bit of how the actual person will fit in the Titan suit. So it's not like a human's arms are in the arms and fully in the legs. They're really kind of situated in it like a little, it's almost like a miniature spaceship. You know what I mean? Think like a deep sea diving bell or something like that, mixed with a little bit of that power loading. But it's also fully enclosed because it's a fully pressurized thing. They can EVA, they can be out in space. Let's see here. Where's my other concept art here? Another piece of concept art here. Again, some of these illustrations are rough. I don't know where the sources were, but what you see here is a modular arm, and you'll see this in one of my mock-ups, but you'll see the arm here being replaced with some sort of modular thing. Maybe it's a cargo lifter, maybe it's a weapon, maybe it's a repair arm or something like that. The next thing that I had to do, and we'll get into our discussion phase here in just a moment, but to kind of walk you through how the Titan suit became something on the 3D side of things. The next thing we did is we started with this. Oops, let me find it. We started with this piece of concept art, and we decided to build this out in 3D. So what you'll see happen here on the right-hand side of the screen is you'll see that fade into the actual 3D Titan suit. So you can see we're pretty darn close. It's not exact, but it's pretty close. Some of the proportions are a little different. Again, it's hard sometimes to model something from 3D based purely from 2D concept art. So me and Nicholas, my collaborator, worked really hard on trying to get the overall vibe of Titan suits down to something that felt right, felt heavy, felt industrial, right? So that's going to take us to our first animation here that we'll talk about, and we'll this will be just an orbit of what I'm calling the standard Titan suit. I'm going to open it up to Starlet and Ninder now. Titan suits, where do you think, and obviously they could fall in many categories, industrial, maybe there's medical, combat, whatever, but where do you two see Titan suits fitting in? Do you think of them more as suits of armor, or do you think of them as actual like spaceships, only different form factors? What are your thoughts there?
I see this
Honestly,
being a.
yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Starlet. Go ahead.
I'm just gonna say honestly, I'm totally out of my depth with Titan suits. I don't quite
Perfect
get
for
it.
speculating.
I can imagine there's some sort of Ripley's power armor type loady deal going on, and I can imagine there's quite a lot of battlefield action for them. I don't really know much beyond that.
Yeah.
I would love to see like options for having one on a capital ship as defense for boarding and things like that. I'm not sure if they even fit. So
Right. They seem to be in height. Obviously, they can ratchet themselves up higher, as you just saw. But from what I could tell in a lot of the concept art, it looks like they're going to be about twice the height of a human. I wish VMXEO was in chat. I could probably ask him. Hello hello L66 from Paris. Nice for you stopping by. Appreciate the support. I wish VMXEO was in chat because he could probably tell me what the metric is for the height of a human in Star Citizen. I think it's 1.8 meters in terms of the metric. I could be wrong. Maybe it's 1 meter. I forget. No, 1.8. I forget. We'll have to find that out. But I think the Titan suits are roughly double. Ender, your thoughts on Titan suits just kind of overall? Do you think they have a place in the verse? Do you think they're a distraction? Do you think there's something interesting that can be done with them for gameplay purposes?
Yes to all three.
Yeah.
I do think that there's a place for them in the verse. I do think that they are a distraction, but I see some interesting gameplay with them. I would like to see these be more less military and more functional. Salvaging, repair, things like that over what we're seeing right now.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I don't want every piece of gear that I own to be attached to a gun.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's all anybody cares about. What size gun can I put on anything? I would rather see this be an industrial weapon, or not weapon. Sorry, an industrial item rather than a weapon.
Think like
I
maybe it's like a
want to see
multi-tool
this.
on steroids. You know what I mean?
Massive steroids.
Yeah.
I would love to see this thing used planet side for derelict ships to tear them apart and carry the parts to your ship, or to planet side repair a ship, or even internal. This is what is going to be used to repair massive damage to engines, pull engines out, pull power supplies out, things that a human wouldn't be able to do without protection. This is that protection. That's what I would like to see, but I don't want to see every one of these running around with guns.
You said it was like a diving bell. What about one that goes underwater?
Well,
That'd be
to
great.
tack on with that, I mean, one thing we do know, and I think about Titan suits primarily in this regime, one thing we do know is that some planets are going to be downright poisonous, hostile, high radiation, extreme high heat, lava planets. I mean, we do know those exist in Star Citizen systems while we don't see them yet. And I could see systems with extreme high radiation or really adverse weather effects or whatever being maybe you can only traverse them via Titan suit. You know what I mean? Or something like an Ursa rover, but you can't get out. So in that regard, Titan suits would bring a form of gameplay that we don't currently have, because while we do have heavy ground vehicles like the Ursa rover and ballista, you're in them and they can't function other than traversing the terrain, you know what I mean, or mining a rock. But imagine if you were in a fully articulated suit like a Titan suit, you're still going to have to deal with the logistics of getting it planet side and all that stuff. But now you're going to be able to function in hostile environments and still have the functionality of being in your EVA suit.
Absolutely. And imagine, if you can, the scientific discoveries that might be made in an active volcano with one of these suits.
Yeah.
I think that alone, seeing that would make it worth. You're going to see, look at this. You're going to see, obviously, weaponized. Even pirates are going to weaponize these.
Yeah.
And humans are, it's human nature. These are going to be militarized, but I would love to see these more used in industrial purposes and scientific purposes than for military purposes.
And again, we're in like major speculation territory here, everyone. So obviously bear with us. But even with this, I was kind of, one of the things we know is that Titan suits will be used for lifting like heavy amounts of cargo and stuff. And so on this one here, I just ripped the claw off the reclaimer.
I was about to say those are reclaimer claws.
Those are reclaimer claws.
About to grab a vulture.
But I mean, you could definitely see.
Where's the railgun? Come on.
I know. There needs to be. That's a future Skunkworks episode. But
yes,
we've talked at length about these large 32 SCU cargo containers. And I could totally see Titan suits being essentially power loaders for those large 32 SCU containers.
Yeah, and then you use it to kill the alien queen. While yelling, "Get away from her, you bitch!"
Yeah, exactly. Well, actually, Ender, you're bringing up something though that I do feel is the real deal. I think anything in Star Citizen should be able to be made into a weapon if you can think of how to do it. For example, If you have an Orion, and let's say the Orion's huge blasto capital mining laser ends up being the most devastating weapon this side of the Idris's railgun, I'm all for it. I'm
Absolutely.
all for Orions being flown around in combat situations.
I'm not going to get angry about it.
No, and what I want people to think outside the box. And this goes back to our pre-show discussion and they're on Chrome Hounds. If anyone's ever played the game Chrome Hounds, I think it was by, I forget who made it. It was an old game for
looking it up.
Yeah, from I forget, but either way, you built your own mechs, and people got really creative. Funny enough,
from software.
We found that putting the cockpit of your mech into the crotch area seemed to be the safest, but it was amazing.
People shoot at the head.
And one of the coolest things that we ever had was me and Ender were playing Chrome Hounds, and we went into a lobby where we were fighting some Japanese players. And they had built their mechs completely different than we had ever seen before.
Yeah.
And we thought that, I remember that specifically. I remember thinking that was the coolest thing. I was like, oh man, I would never build it this way, but this is probably maybe the Japanese way of doing it. And it was such a cool moment. But again, it was all about finding ways to turn something into a weapon if you needed it. AZ, take it easy, man. Appreciate you stopping by and hanging out with us tonight.
Kelly, have a good night, brother.
But so here we're seeing some sort of heavy lift or heavy cargo version of the Titan suit. Now maybe another alternate we would have, we know we're talking about repair and salvaging lately, salvaging being on the roadmap currently targeted for 318. I think that'll hold. Maybe there's some sort of pure repair version. We saw in that early concept art some sort of modular arm. Maybe the arms can be replaced to be tools. Maybe it's mining lasers. Maybe it's repair lasers, et cetera, et cetera. For example, let's say you're in your small fighter, and or let's say you're an Avenger, you're in Pyro, your ship's damaged, you got some people out there doing hand repairs with the multi-tool, and one of Pyro's solar blasts happen and irradiates you. Wouldn't you rather be out there in a Titan suit doing those repairs and a little bit more safety? I think, again, that would be really cool. Again, this is all what you're seeing here, everyone, although I modeled the Titan suit to be mostly close to the concept art, the arm and the little fuel backpack and stuff, and we're just speculating here. But the general idea, though, is that you could really take these in a lot of places, and I could see there being medical versions, or maybe it's just a Titan suit base, and you could switch out arms and modules and stuff to fit certain gameplay types, which I think would be really cool.
One Titan suit, and then you've got modules that you can purchase and switch out, which would be great. You got the military version, you got the repair, I think that'd be awesome. And maybe there are multiple types of Titan suits. You got your bigger ones for different atmospheres and different environments, and oh man. I'm sorry. I'm getting excited because I love the idea of these being for, industrial work and just the scientific stuff you could do with these.
I mean, it would be cool too if you were in a ship like, let's say, the Liberator. You've got 10 of these Titan suits set up for mining. Liberator rolls into an area, they all deploy, they all EVA to rocks, they're all mining, they all come back to the Liberator, drop off their stuff, whatever. I would love to see that kind of emergent creative gameplay instead of just everything being, okay, you're going mining, need to take a prospector, you know what I mean, just the same old, same old. I would love that flexibility, myself. And then again, going back to what you were saying earlier, Starlet, being able to explore underwater or maybe inside lava zones. Maybe there's functionality behind Titan suits to help build outposts quicker. That's a whole other thing. Another aspect here, I'll go ahead and pop up this combat variant here where the arms are replaced with the guns. Imagine if you had Titan suits that not only could be manned. But imagine if you put the computer blades in them and then they were essentially AI sentries at that point. You have a couple of these
Yeah.
roaming around your outpost. You know what I mean? Just constantly sort of on patrol versus static sentries. I would much prefer that over a static sentry that could be targeted
Absolutely.
or sabotaged. And being that it's a fully, a fully, you know, computerized system, I would guess, these
I
suits.
believe that's a
Yeah.
Gatling.
Yeah.
Quinn.
Yeah, I didn't put that much thought into it, Quinn, but thanks for pointing it out. You son of a... I'm just kidding. Quinn gets a gold star.
Yep.
Regardless, you could see these Titan suits being, bladed out maybe to where they can be roaming AI sentries at that point.
Yeah.
And that's not just for combat. Maybe that's for other things too. Maybe, for example, let's imagine this scenario. Imagine you have a javelin. Javelin's got that big, large hangar with the top, clamshell door that opens. Imagine you did have 2 or 3 Titan suits in there that were set up for repair. Maybe they are bladed out. The Javelin encounters any damage. Instead of needing a Vulcan nearby or anything with drones to do some minor repairs, they can just send out their Titan suits. I would think that'd be really cool. It would allow some ships that don't have drone deploying capability the ability to deploy something to help with some like self-sustaining um, repair or refuel or rearm scenarios. I don't know. I think that could be cool. I think they could develop some ships that specifically are to deploy Titan suits. Could be really cool. I mean, imagine you're on the deck of a Kraken and some Titan suit drop ship comes in and drops 3 Titan suits on the deck of your Kraken. You're probably going to have a bad day.
Yeah.
I'd love to
Grim,
see
I'm.
one that has like a phalanx shield or something on its hand. And you could
Uh-huh.
stick in the ground and hold
That
it
would
there.
be cool.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Graham, I'm going to need you to mock one of these up with dual size 7s off the Inferno.
Would that be
yeah,
just over each shoulder?
just right over each shoulder.
Yeah. So I mean, where besides that, let's talk about what's maybe one of the more obvious places we could maybe see Titan suits crop up, and that would be theaters of war, and that kind of leads us to our theaters of war conversation anyway. I definitely could see these popping up in theaters of war, being sort of that Titanfall sort of thing. Um, I actually think they would play an interesting role in theaters of war, especially with heavier ground vehicles being in theaters of war. I think that the Titan suits could play an interesting role, not just in combat, but maybe for medical purposes. Imagine if you have a player that's down in the middle of a combat zone. I mean, Ender, you remember when we would play Arma 3, if you had someone down and they were down in sort of like a heavy field of fire, you had to deploy smoke grenades, you had to create diversions, you maybe had to send snipers off to a flank and fire down on them to pull fire, just to pull that person out of that line of fire and then proceed to do medical on them. Imagine if you could run out there in a Titan suit, kneel down in front of the person blocking that fire that's inbound on them and get them out of there. I think that kind of stuff could be cool. What's y'all's thoughts on theaters of war and where maybe these could fit in? And do either of you feel that Titan suits maybe could be not necessarily on the fast track, but be something that's a little farther along than we think maybe internally?
I think that
even begun for
progress. I think people want it, but I agree. I don't think it's started.
Now, we do know back, we're going to bring up the roadmap here again, so we're going to rip off the Band-Aid again, so hopefully everyone's ready for it. Back when the Squadron 42 roadmap was viewable, there was a time where Titan suits were on the roadmap for Squadron 42, and we had actually passed their completion, quote unquote. Now, were they completed or were they worked on? We don't know. But they were on the Squadron 42 roadmap, and their production window we had passed. So when you looked at it, it almost looked like work was done on them and finished on them. Now, again, that doesn't mean we're going to see them a while. I'm just saying what I'm talking about is being in production, meaning they were produced inside CIG. They were gotten to a point, work had been done on them, and then they were paused or shelved. We know this occurs. Almost positive this has occurred with the Aegis Nautilus, and probably with a lot of ships that are going to feature in Squadron 42, the Hull C, for example. Work was done on those years ago and then paused for full integration. But I don't know. Based off what I've looked into, I feel like probably there has been a lot more concept work done on the. Actually, Quinn brings up the Cygnus Miner. Yeah, that's another thing that's kind of funny. The Cygnus Miner, I think, is back on the roadmap and the progress tracker for work, but it was this mining. The Cygnus mining droid is supposed to have been done multiple times at this point, so I don't exactly know where they're at with it, but. I do think Titan suits have had some work on them internally at CIG. I think they've been much more fleshed out. I don't know if they're in a place where CIG feels like they're in their final form factor, though. So I don't think have seen. I think that's the reason we haven't seen anything, and I don't think we're going to see anything for a while. My only caveat to that would be if they do make a really large push into theaters of war, I could see them being something that they push on for theaters of war, not for a theaters of war release, but for like phase 2 of theaters of war. You know what I mean? When it's been out for a little bit and you kind of need that next dopamine hit for that game. Not I wouldn't call it an expansion pack or anything, but you need that kind of next thing. I could see the Titan suits fitting really nicely into that, along with some new maps and other things. Did we have any? Chat thoughts or questions about Titan suits? I didn't see any come in. Again, obviously, everyone, this is pretty speculative. We won't take it too much farther than that, but I wanted to be able to show Titan suits in progress and kind of where they're at. Again, I know there's a lot of interest in the in Titan suits from the cinematic standpoint, because I have talked about them being in the cinematics. So I thought it'd be a cool place to show the work that's been going on in the background on them off and just speculate a little bit on Titan suits for fun. It's kind of funny after a week like CIG has had of all the negativity, it would take merely the briefest mentions of Titan suits probably to make everyone forget about the negative stuff, because Titan suits
would certainly be happy.
Yeah. Well, Titan suits are like the BMM or the Polaris. It's something that people have been waiting for. It strikes at the imagination. There's that fantasy surrounding it, and you never know. You never know.
No, Nargo. We said Titan suit. Titan suit, not.
Yeah, Hammer. Thanks so much for the compliments. Everyone, again, that's going to about wrap us up for tonight. Unless, Ender, did we have any final things to talk about? I don't think we do on the charity front, or
not on the charity front.
Not the charity front, but our Bar Citizen stuff. We are still planning on doing
the Bar
that.
Citizen front.
Yeah, I know we're trying to target something like maybe a March or April, probably like an April, something like that.
Got a few things in the work for that.
Yeah.
I did want to mention that we have solidified a shoot schedule for Chronicles. Grim and I got together, meshed our I can't think of the word, schedules.
Yep.
Wow. Together. Mondays and Wednesdays will be shoot nights for us. So I will be going over some stuff probably when Grim has a chance, hopefully tomorrow or Sunday. And we're going to be discussing just what shots we need and when. And I will be updating everybody in the Discord. If you're in the Discord, let me know that you want to be a part of. That must have just went out. There it goes. If you want to be a part of the crew, just add me and say, hey, I'd like to be a part of the crew. There will be nights that we have people that we are shooting with, and there will be nights that we don't. And then once we get all the shots, we'll be doing voice work. So we're plugging along on that.
Yeah. I'm pretty excited about it. And again, There's a renewed energy behind Chronicles, and I know we've been saying that a little bit, but it's a project that we're kind of learning and cutting our teeth on a little bit too. Quick update on Hanger Link, the Fleet Viewer specifically. I'm still tracking to get all of my work done Q1. I do want to start preferencing. Someone had pointed out, and it's a fair statement. While I am pushing hard to get all my visual work done for Q1 and passing it off to Starlet, the actual release date will be more just in due time after she's had enough time to work with it and get it all structured. I've set my personal goal for getting all the ships done as Q1, and we're tracking along really nicely for that. I am, I think, one ship away from finishing Misk and one ship away from finishing Anvil. So those will be two large manufacturers that will be finished. And I am nearing completion on quite a few of the alien ships. So again, really making good progress. That really is going to leave just a few remaining things like Consolidated Outlands and Drake. But Drake is probably about 80% done. So we're really making a lot of progress there. Probably going to go heads down with it and really focus on it for about the next 30 days and really try to finish all the ships off for Starlet. So that's going to be about it for everyone. I was going to raid Toy Gruben tonight. He's always been a big supporter of us.
For sure.
Everyone, thanks for showing up with us tonight. Thanks for all the follows. Again, don't forget to follow the channel. We will be giving away the Elgato Stream Deck next Starjump station, 100%. And someone will walk away with that.
And also go follow me. Follow Grim now. Go follow me because I'm next.
Yes.
We'll be doing
giving another one away there. So thanks everyone. Thanks for showing up again. Sorry we were not doing a show last week, but thanks for the patience and joining us this week. Starlet Ender, it was great hanging out with you again. Until next time.
For sure.
Cool.
See you, everyone.
All right, everyone. We're loading everyone into the magazine here for the raid.
Started.
Yep. Sorry about that. All right, we are raiding now. Everyone, go give them some love.